Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching the Arkansas Gun Guy. Today a video I'm excited to share with you guys a comparison between two CZs, the 75 BD and the 97 BD. They're both BDs, they're both CZs, but what's the difference in a 75 and a 97? So I'll kind of walk you through the differences of these two firearms, and as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you know about both models and what are your thoughts on them? So for me, it starts with the CZ75. One of the platforms that I absolutely adore and that I shoot the best of all the platforms I've owned. One of the most cloned firearms of all time. It's a double action, single action, 9mm firearm designed in the Czech Republic in, you guessed it, 1975. And it's famous for a couple of things. A, being very ergonomic, very easy to point and shoot. Some people have compared it to a Browning high power. I've never shot a Browning high power, but maybe that's true. You guys can let me know. But it's a gun that I shoot very well, has an excellent trigger. But the thing I really like about it is the recoil and how it stays on target. Because unlike most guns, the CZ75 and this 97 have an inverted rail system. So most slides ride on the outside of the frame, but the CZ75s have the rails on the inside. So that's this slide set really low on top of the firearm. Not necessarily a low bore axis, but you have very little slide mass coming back at you versus some of the top heavy guns like SIGs. They also love, but a big difference is the fact that you have these just inverted rails that sit lower. And there's a big difference between these two firearms I'll talk about in a second. Because on CZs, the only thing I ever hear negative about them, two things. Sometimes maybe they're a little harder to take apart than some firearms, but they're hard to rack. This BD version here has nothing in the front for cocking serrations, only in the back. And if you look, there's not a lot of space to grab and rack the slide here. My son, who's a really good shooter, hates this firearm because he can't rack the slide. But once you practice it, you can get your thumb here and actually rack the slide. But some people who don't know dislike the fact that that slide sits so low in there, you can't grab onto a lot of it. Now, I did mention these are both BDs. B is a firing pin block, which was how these things developed over time. But D is a decocker model. They make them with safeties and decockers. Both of these are equipped with a decocker that once you put a round in the chamber, the hammer's back, you can simply decock it here. And now you're back in double action mode. So the CZ97 does the exact same thing as this guy, only it's bigger because it's chambered in a bigger caliber, 45 ACP. But one thing I noticed quickly about it is, while it has the inverted rail system as the CZ75, again, you see the rails on the inside here, you have more to grab onto here. Bigger bullets mean bigger guns, which means bigger space to grab. Once my son picked this gun up, he absolutely loved it because it looks good, it feels good, but he can also rack the slide. This one has front and rear cocking serrations, but there's more to grab onto. Note the difference here, how much I have to grab onto, versus the 9mm here. So quite a bit more meat to the bone there to grab onto. Hopefully that comes across on camera. But so that is one of the big differences in the two, that this is a bigger gun, heavier gun, but it is just easier to manipulate the slide, which I think some people will really like. Now let's look at them again side by side. So in addition to the inverted rails and the fact that they look very cool, there's still some pretty big differences, especially in the recoil system and disassembly methods. I've never taken this guy apart. It's again on loan from a friend of the channel. I may attempt that live on camera, so you guys don't judge me, because this does have a slightly more complicated disassembly method than the CZ75. But looking at these two, starting front to back, again, the CZ75, this one has a pretty long dust cover. It doesn't overhang, rather. You can see the slide stops there. So this overhang is pretty dramatic, and there's definitely no pick rail on here. But it lends to a very sleek look, and you can see the design flow very well together. The CZ97 has a full-length dust cover, so when you rack the slide back, all this stays out here. Very smooth, by the way. This thing's right inside the rails. Lots of metal contact. Rides very smoothly in there. But a big difference is the fact that you have a full dust cover versus not a full dust cover. Both firearms are for right-handers only. There's nothing on the left-hand side for lefties like me. all by myself over here, but both have the slide stop, slide catch on this side with the decockers. And they both work pretty much exactly the same. My CZ75 comes with the stock grips. This 97B from my friend has some aftermarket grips, but it also came with the stock grips, which look just like this. Very nice checkering. No worrying about losing control of the firearm because they are quite heavy, both of them. I don't have the weights here, but the 45 is definitely bigger and heavier. And if I look at them side by side, again, they look very, very similar. You'll see that my CZ75 has traditional three-dot sights, where I have a fiber optic front sight here on the 97. So another little difference there. Both have a similar shaped trigger guard and trigger. The triggers are great on both. I've always been told not to dry fire CZ75s too much because it can damage, I think, the firing pin. The roll pins can wear out. So I need to put snap caps by the side to dry fire these guys. But triggers feel very, very similar. From what little bit I have been able to dry fire them. But again, two guns that I think are absolutely beautiful. I love the grip angle on both of these. I love the feel in your hand. And I just can't wait to maybe shoot this guy one day and see how it shoots versus the CZ97. Now, I did mention capacity. I should mention that. The CZ97 was designed in 97 during the firearms ban when you couldn't have more than 10 rounds in a magazine. So they made the 45. If you only have 10 rounds, would you rather have 10 rounds of 99mm or 10 rounds of 45 ACP? CZ went with 45 ACP when they designed this. So this magazine holds 10 rounds of 45, where the 75 holds, I believe, 15 rounds. I should probably check before I did the video. 16 rounds, actually. So you definitely get more rounds in the CZ97 in a similar size gun. Again, now you can buy guns this size or smaller that have more capacity in 45. So this gun, I guess, time moved on eventually, but that was how and when it was designed. So the other big thing that is different on these two is the takedown. And again, I'm still debating on camera if I'm gonna do this live in person or not. Both have a standard CZ75 takedown where you have to line up these two notches and push out the slide from this side. And the CZ75 has locking lugs on top, which I don't think I can see how I actually got. Has locking lugs up top that help with the engagement to the slide. The 97 has the same takedown methodology here, but it has a different recoil system, the non-captured spring in here, and a lug on the front. You can see the lugs on the front, very much like a 1911. This plug comes out and these lugs rotate over. So not sure if I'm going to try and disassemble this on camera or not because I don't want to embarrass myself even more in front of you guys. So there is a difference in the way that they break down and the recoil management system in there. So a couple big differences, different chambering, different recoil systems, different takedown methods, and more slide to grab onto on the 97. Both beautiful, beautiful firearms, in my humble opinion. Again, I'm a CZ nerd. And again, would love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on the CZ75 and or the 97 BD? Do you have both? What do you like about them? Is there anything you don't like about them? Love to hear from you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, disassembly. I was going to chicken out on screen and not do this, but I decided to try it, see if I could do it, and it doesn't look impossible. But I want to look at the disassembly and the recoil mechanisms on both firearms. I've already disassembled the CZ97 here. We'll take it down further in just a second. But first, I'll also take down my CZ75. As always, drop the magazine, check for clear. But on CZ75s, you'll see there's two lines that you have to line up. I'll push the decocker down slightly. There's a line on the frame right here. Get this out of the way, sorry guys. Line on the frame right here and a line right there. You have to line those two guys up like this. While doing that, you also have to push this little pin out, which releases the takedown lever over here. So what I like to do is line those up, take a rubber base plate of another magazine, and push that out. So I hold it with this hand, push out with this, and you can see when you do that, the slide stop pops out this way. So this just pulls right out like this. Then the slide comes right off the top. I have to decock it first, I forgot. And then this comes off. So Here, look at the internals of the CZ75 versus the 97, one closest to me. So very similar looking in there, but the recoil systems are different. So this is the CZ75 and CZ97. First I'll take off the recoil spring here, and then on the 75. So slightly different, definitely longer. But you'll also see this plug just came out. I'll come back to that in just a second. On the CZ75, the barrel lifts out, and you can see these lugs on top for locking on recoil. And there is the lug on the bottom. So that's how the CZ75 looks. And here's inside the barrel. You can see where the lugs lock in here. But on the 97, it doesn't come apart so easily. You have this plug that comes out, but then you have this bushing on the front right here that has to come off. So it turns and loosens like this and releases the barrel. And again, you see a big difference in the barrel here. Side by side, you've got the standard looking Browning type action here versus these lugs, and different on the bottom. So a difference in the way the barrels are designed and locking mechanisms are designed. And you can see inside the slide there the differences. So that is a complete takedown of the CZ75 and the 97 as a final comparison between the two. I will not torture you and watch me put them back together, but they all go back together in reverse order of that. So as always, thank you again for watching, and please consider subscribing. Thanks.